Dutchbuzz, your weekly dose of news, views and interviews.
100% Haags, Den Haag FM.
Did you know that the city of The Hague has more than 185,000 active volunteers? It's a statistic that continues to amaze me, even though I'm one myself. With about 80% of its residents contributing to community services in this way, it gives our city a very special role. Someone who's daily matching international candidates with volunteer work in The Hague is Tetyana Benzeroual, project manager at Volunteer The Hague. Lovely to have you back on the program, Tetyana.
Happy to be here.
How was your summer?
Oh, it was amazing.
Full of energy, battery charged?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
So, what makes The Hague such an amazing city for volunteers?
Well, first of all, The Hague is the international city of peace and justice. The word international is right there in the name. So internationals are always welcome to the city of The Hague, and they are always welcome to make the difference in the city and to volunteer.
How do volunteers contribute to the social fiber here in The Hague?
They are one of the most important part of the social fiber of the city of The Hague. All of the non-profits would not be able to exist without volunteers. Of course, they need funding, but they also need the manpower to run the organization. And usually they don't have enough funding to run it only with employees. So that's when volunteers come in to help out and just spark it up and just make it real.
Volunteer The Hague specializes in finding positions for internationals in our city, some of whom may not even speak Dutch. When was it decided to set up a branch specifically for internationals?
Excellent question. It was back in 2013 that the idea was kind of at its inception. At 2014, we received funding from the municipality, and in 2015, the launch of Volunteer The Hague happened.
And that's when you entered on the scene,
that's
right?
exactly when I started. And I started, in fact, as a volunteer to help out with the launch of Volunteer The Hague. I fell in love with the project. I thought, what a great thing that is. The entire municipality of the city of The Hague is willing to contribute all these funds and resources to the international population and help them to feel better, more welcomed, and volunteer in the city. Oh, I was in love, and all that passion shined through, and I started running Volunteer The Hague project. I guess I was the right person for the right position at the right time.
Something like that. Good combination there. How do you ensure that our volunteers are not exploited?
Another great question, which I almost always been asked, and definitely always been asked on this program here. That's one of our priorities. We always listen to the feedback that we receive from volunteers very carefully, and we do investigate any sort of feedback that any of their organizations either mistreated or maybe not even open to having internationals on board. Volunteer The Hague is specifically made for internationals who have limited understanding of Dutch, which means that all the volunteer vacancies that we feature, they should be suitable for those who struggle with Dutch. And sometimes we end up with volunteer vacancies that require a bit more advanced level of Dutch language, and then it gives a bit of a wrong impression to newcomers that are only starting to learn Dutch, that they want to integrate with Dutch society, but with the limited understanding of Dutch, they apply for the vacancy, and then they are being asked so basically they get an impression that they're not good enough because they don't speak Dutch. And that's something that we take very seriously. Of course, I think every international should make an effort to learn Dutch because we are living in the Netherlands. But when somebody struggles with that really should not be a reason to not take them on board as volunteers if the volunteer vacancy is advertised on Volunteer The Hague.
You mentioned a few benefits. What are some of the others? You mentioned integration.
To the extent that I don't think that everybody in the city of The Hague wants to become Dutch, but the integration to the level that we feel welcome, that we feel more at home in the country that we are in, that we are choosing to have our new home. There is one of these stereotypes that internationals are here because they're just here for a couple of years and then they move on to a different life, to the different country, which the research has shown that 72% of the respondents, they are choosing the Netherlands as their new home. We like it here. We don't want to leave. It's nice. And what is there a better way to feel even more at home, if not through volunteering, where we can get to know Dutch culture better, we can practice our Dutch, we can connect with Dutch society in such a nice way.
Yeah, I think if you look around this studio, Tetyana,
Yes.
you'll see that there are some of your volunteers
That came through
right
volunteer
here in the
behavior.
studio.
Yes, I do see them. Nice.
Well done, and thank you
Well, my
for
pleasure.
these quality candidates that we've got here.
My pleasure, my pleasure. This is something that we live for, we strive for. And hearing all the success stories, seeing their smiles, seeing them, oh, they're just smiling to me right now, and seeing them fulfilled. This is something that drives me at Volunteer The Hague and my Volunteer The Hague team.
Excellent. Tetyana, you have mix and match events from time to time. When is the next one?
The next one is coming relatively soon on the 18th of November, and it's Saturday. And we opened up already registration, so if visitors go to our homepage, volunteerthehague.nl, right there on the homepage, they can click to register. And we are happy to have them at the Mix and Match Volunteer Job Fair on November 18th.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to start your year.
Absolutely.
Well, academic year in this case.
Yes, and I remember Dutchbuzz used to join us as one of the representing organizations taking on board internationals. We're still taking on board organizations to register for the event. So if any nonprofits want to join in and take on board internationals, do register.
Tetyana Benzeroual, Project Manager at Volunteer in The Hague. Thank you for joining us on Dutchbuzz again. And
Of course.
see you
Pleasure
same
to
time
be
next
here.
year. If not
Yes,
before.
sounds good.
Dutchbuzz, your weekly dose of news, views, and interviews.
100